Greetings everyone, and welcome to Keeping Up with Papa, Life After Work, where we learn how one man manages to keep himself busy, physically active, and mentally engaged after retirement with projects. Today's project, well, as you're probably aware, we own a 2006 Fleetwood Niagara pop-up camper. It's in fairly serious need of some cosmetic work, and today we're prepping the camper for paint. Check it out. Welcome back, and a little backstory for you. As I mentioned, it's time to paint the pop-up camper. You can see here that someone at some point did a pretty poor job of paint on the camper. This is the original paint. This is another paint that someone put on, and whatever they use, it's just after who knows how many years it's peeling off. So in order for me to properly paint it, this layer of paint has to come off. Well, I can't just scrape it off. I mean, it takes it off, but then it leaves these edges that are exposed. And it's just not going to work. It'll end up with peeling paint underneath the new paint that I put down. So I have to take it down close to bare metal. And the only way to really do that is with a stripping compound. Well, I've tried sanding it, but sanding it just doesn't work. It cuts through these little raised edges where the paint is kind of peeling off, but it doesn't really do much to cut through the surface paint, which is a bad paint that needs to come off anyway. And it definitely doesn't do anything where you've got this stippled side and you've got indentations down in here all over the place. It won't get down inside those and remove any paint. So really what has to be done is we have to strip it. This is what I'm using right now. It's something called citrus strip. I used it on the top and it worked really well on that aluminum top. And it's working really well here also. It's just time consuming, and I've seen people use this online and just do the whole thing in one evening, and then or coat the whole thing in one evening and then cover it up with some kind of plastic and have it sit there overnight and just kind of cook its way through. I'm not doing that. I'm coating a section with it, setting my timer for 35 or 40 minutes. When I come back to it after 35 or 40 minutes, it's softened up and it really just kind of comes right off. So one panel is almost done. I have this panel, the next panel, the back, the entire other side, and the front left. So I'm going to be here a while. I'll report back. Here it is. Here it is, actually. I've removed the electrical box. I'm going to replace that because it's kind of beat up. Same thing with the freshwater inlet. And this is the freshwater inlet when you hook it up to a hose. And all three of these, and this as well, I may replace in black because I'm going to do black trim on it next time around. The heater has been repainted on the inside with some gray spray paint. Apparently they painted over all the labels. I was able to get steel wool onto the labels and get it to where you can read them again. And then the cover will be, which is metal, will be sanded down and painted black. These stickers will come off with a heat gun. And when I get the entire panel done completely, I'll come back and clean it with mineral spirits and a little piece of steel wool. And then also after that I'll wash it good with TSP before it gets painted. You can see here the residual of something. It'll come off with a scraper and some steel wool. Not entirely sure what it is, but I'm still sticking with its primer. Get these little pieces of paint or primer, whatever it is that are sticking up, I've been using an orbital sander with 180 grit on it. It's working pretty well. I really don't think I'll be able to get it any better than that. Now I want to tackle the residue of these stickers. Heat gun worked well before. See if it does it again. One across here and one across here. Switch back over to the deglazing tool. This works better. This was unexpected. Here's the black stripe that is on the slide out, and it's actually just been painted directly over. So I'll have to strip all the paint off and then figure out a way to get that off. Now there's also a burgundy stripe that runs right in here somewhere. Yep, there's the burgundy stripe. Painted right over both of the decals. I mentioned this in a previous video. The outdoor shower is full of air. There's nothing in there. And it's disconnected down at the floor underneath the camper. So this needs to come out and be replaced. Now, I never really use the outdoor shower when I'm out camping, but if I don't put one in there, I'll wish I had. So it's riveted in. Let's see if we can get these rivets out. Here we go. That's it. Sidebar. This is kind of interesting. You can see how this thing is built on the inside. Looks to me like a 2x4. There's a 2x4 down at the bottom. There's a 2x4 over there. It looks to be a roughly 16-inch centers. I haven't measured it, but that would be pretty accurate. So yeah, it's built out of 2x4 framing. Check this out. On this end, the burgundy stripe is not painted over at all. The black stripe is completely painted over. Same thing on the back, same thing on the far side, the passenger side of the camper. Why? I don't know. Two sections completely done on the driver's side. The center section there is not done yet. I'll come back to that when I can put the slide all the way out. This one's done, and you can actually see here that I have come back after cleaning it real well, using the stripper on it, and then I've taken the heat gun and removed as much as I can of that stripe, that sticker. Around here on the back side, I had the same basic issue. Now I've stripped this one down completely already, and I need to start, in fact I have started on the other end, to get this black strip off. The red strip underneath it is gone. And something that's interesting is there's a gray strip that shows up here. It doesn't show up anywhere else, but maybe it's just tape. I'm not really sure. I do end up having some material that is not coming off with the first pass, so I am actually hitting that with the sander, and it gets me down to where I need to be without having to go back and retreat it with the stripper. Making progress. And this side, the passenger side, is not yet started. This really is very time consuming. I'm going to end up having 3 or 4 days off and on during the day stripping and cleaning this up before I'm ready to paint. Alright, sticker is off. One more step I have to do on this panel before it'll be ready for final washing and painting. And that's to sand it. There's just a lot of loose stuff on here still. See if we can get rid of it. One little sidebar here, you'll notice on the driver's side, I drilled out the rivets on the brake light. and cleaned out completely underneath that. This one over here, the passenger side, I did not take it out. Just wondering whether it was really worth the trouble or not. Looking at this, I kind of think it is. I think I'll go ahead and drill that out real quick. Only takes a moment. Then when I paint, I won't have to worry about taping this off. And rivets are not expensive. One other important comment, go ahead and buy a nice bit. I was trying to do this with poor bits previously, and I couldn't drill a hole. This cuts right into it really, really well. Let's see how dirty this is. All I really want to get rid of is some of the silicone. There's not really a lot of silicone on this at all. In fact, the only silicone is here is where they've sealed that. This thing's a heck of a mess from me cleaning up the wall around it. It looks much, much better. I'm just more comfortable having it off like that. Now, should I do these guys also? I have taken off the one on the other end over there already, just out of curiosity, and underneath there is a spongy seal of some sort that's intact. So I don't really think I need to do it, and I think I can probably tape around these really well. Check this out. I pulled the fender off, and here's a gray stripe underneath. So there was a gray stripe at the ends as well, but there doesn't appear to be a gray stripe here. I guess at some point someone took it off. Yeah, I don't know. Here's an interesting surprise found on the curb side, or the passenger side of the camper. The other side, when I took this fender off, it had screws. This one has one screw, the rest of them have caps over the screws. Did not know that was the case. I'll have to save those or find some place to order new ones for replacement. Don't you love surprises? I don't even know what's going on here, exactly how this is assembled, but I pulled this cover off for the wheel well cutout and came to find something like that, and like this. Oh, dirt dauber nest up in here. There's, oh, I don't even know what that is. That's fiberglass insulation. Where'd that come from? More wasp nests. I don't know that this really matters. It's just irritating. See if I can find something long enough to stick up in there. You know what I think this is? Because there's no, to my knowledge, there's no fiberglass insulation in here anywhere. This is a mouse house. Yep, yeah, it's very good. We've had some hitchhikers in here. Mice living inside this. Well, they're not in here now. They left their trademark for me to deal with. So I'll get as much of it out of there as I can, along with the old dirt dauber wasp nest. But there's no way to pull that in. There's nothing that just runs loose like this. And for the record, this is what goes up there. Surprises round 2. I have not been into these plates behind the refrigerator yet. I'm not quite sure what's going to be back there. Let's take a look. Huh. Actually, it's not all that bad. That's fun. There's a drain here and a cup to catch, I guess, to catch condensation. And it's got a great big old dirt dauber nest in it. Let me check that out. In here, this is a bunch of crud, which needs to be vacuumed out. You know, this could be a source of a little bit of the lingering dirt smell that I have inside the camper. These are coming off. I think. There's something going on here I don't understand. Clip? Alright. Still something I don't understand. Okay, a quick examination. This, that, and that. That all has rivets inside that rivets this thing to a metal brace behind it. Time to get the drill. Okay, let's see if this is as easy as it should be. Well, that one was simple. What do you think? Will it come off now? There's 5 of them. Missed that one, missed that one. There's the bracket on the back. It just goes in like this, loops behind it, holds it in place. That's interesting. And that one rivets directly into this bracket. Let's hope I remember how to put it all back together. Thank goodness I've got this on film. Again, I don't want to break something. There you go. So that bracket, this is just kind of a press fit when this comes through there and holds this in place after you have, here's an example, there, like that. It all just kind of holds itself together. Huh, very interesting. One more point of interest, this moves around like crazy, and that's because there's a bolt right here and self-stepping screw. And underneath here, this is just all stripped out, it's ripped out, it's not there anymore. So this should be up here like this, and that gets rid of a lot of that flop that's going on. Very simple repair. Later though. Leave that bracket there so I don't lose it. But I will get in here with a vacuum cleaner and some mildew killer later. There's also an upper vent. Let's see if this one's going to be as much fun as the lower one. Much better. No surprises. Here's a quick look from the top. Rusty fins, that's about it. And this does work really, really well, which is good news. I have just applied the first coat of paint to one of the panels. Quite frankly, I couldn't wait. I really want to see what it looks like, even though I'm not completely finished with the roof yet. And for this, I'm using a roller, and unfortunately, I'm using this as a tipping brush because it happens to be the only thing I had. My regular tipping brush kind of went south on me. So I'm now having this mental discussion with myself about thick or thin. So I tried putting this on a little bit thicker so I wouldn't have to have quite so many coats. It did actually do a little better, but I had a lot of runs, so I'm now sitting here watching for new runs to appear. If I do have runs that I miss, I'll be sanding between coats. I don't really want to do that. It does say you can sand between your next to last and final coat with 320 just to knock off imperfections. A run is a little more than an imperfection. It doesn't look good at all. All that said, this actually looks pretty good. It's covering fairly well. Between now and the second coat, I'll run up to Ace and get a better brush for tipping. It is about an hour and a half later. I've just applied the second coat. I did go and buy myself a couple of nice tipping brushes, cut-in brushes. These are nylon. That's what they tell you to use on something like this, not to use a natural bristle. And it looks pretty good. The second coat has covered real well. A lot of the color issues where you're bleeding through previously is gone now. And whoops, I missed a spot there. There you go. And it is, as you just saw, it is doing a little bit of drooping or dripping occurring. And so I'm sitting here for 5 minutes, just making sure nothing strange comes up, and fixing it if it does. So I'll give it another hour and a half, and this time I may do a little bit of light sanding in a few spots. You got a little spot here and spot there that's got some debris in it, and see if I can get that off. But truthfully, it's not really that critical. It looks really good. So coat number 3 will cover it. Making progress on painting the sides. 4 coats over here. It's really done, although I actually can sort of see through it a little bit still. But I don't think so much that I need to do anything about it. We shall see. 1 coat on here, 3 coats on here. So I'll be 4th coating this and putting a 2nd coat on this side and on the other side of the slide, and moving on from there. I'll show you how I'm doing it. As mentioned previously, this is aluminum paint from Total Boat. And on this side and this side, they've been completely stripped. A lot of loose flaky paint on there from another paint job that didn't do well, so from, I don't know, some years ago. But this side and the far side of a slide out was never repainted. The original paint was here. It was just kind of a mess. So I cleaned it up pretty well. This will be the 4th coat on this one. So hopefully the last one. Here, by the way, you see I taped this one off. I pulled this one apart. You're not supposed to pull it apart. It has to be disconnected from the back. There's screws that come in and screw into this, so I snapped that right off. So I'm going to have to figure out a way to lock it back in when it's time. That looks really nice. It looks great. That's coat number 4. There's a run. Time for a mid-project break, kind of a regrouping. This is as much for my benefit as it is for yours. I need to kind of figure out where I am and what's left to do on this portion of the restoration project. I have just recently finished the roof. It looks great. Got the AC all sealed, and I'm still in the middle of getting the body ready for paint. Now that said, on the other side I have already painted a couple of panels, and they look really, really good. We'll work our way down around there in a minute. So here's kind of where I am at the moment. First, what has to be done to get these panels ready for paint? Well, they've got to be stripped down. All the old bad paint that was on there needs to come off, and strip it down somewhat to original paint as well. Not really out to get all the original paint off, but it's almost inevitable when you put the stripper on that some of that's coming off with it. After the stripping process is completed, and sometimes it takes 2 coats, I then rinse it well with fresh water, then I come back and hit the whole thing with a sander. And just prior to painting, I have an etching liquid that preps the aluminum and gets it ready to accept paint. And so starting on the far corner, which we'll go look at in a moment, it's done. The slide out over here is done on the back side of it. The two sides have a couple of coats. The far corner over here is not done. It is stripped, however, and needs a last sanding and an etching before painting. The front is finished. It just needs to be etched and painted. And I'm going to tape things off too as well. This panel here is ready to be sanded and etched and painted. The door on one side is completely stripped and needs to be sanded and etched and painted. The back side of it is the original paint, and I have taken the decals off. The way I know it's original paint is there was a black decal here, and it was still intact and showing. Everywhere else on the body, that black decal was covered with paint. They had painted right over it. So this is original. So I really just need to clean it up real well, and it should accept paint just fine the way it is. And then finally, this corner over here still needs to be stripped. Around back is already stripped, and it just needs to be cleaned up and sanded and etched and taped so we can paint it. Here's the last panel left that has yet to be stripped. Here's the back panel. It has been stripped and sanded. It will get one more good sanding and then etching and painting. Around the corner, this panel has 4 or maybe even 5 coats of paint on it. I'm not sure exactly how many anymore, but it's completed. The side panel to the slide out has 2 coats on it. You'll notice that you can still see right through it to the original, well, what was left of original paint and some staining underneath. The front of the slide is pretty much finished. It has 4 coats on it as well, and it looks really good. I may put a 5th on, just kind of depending on what I think when I finish the other ones. The front side of the slide, just like the back side, it has 2 coats of paint, and you can see right through it to some staining underneath. This section is 100% ready, of course, just shy of taping it off, and I will sand it one more time. And I may come back in and spend some time trying to get rid of this material that's down inside of this stippling, because it shows up differently when you paint it compared to areas where it is not there. The front is complete. It does, however, need to be sanded again because I have some drips from when I did the roof. And then I'll have to tape everything off across here, and I'll tape off down here to protect the diamond plate. And this will get at least 4 coats of paint. And this we've already seen. The front passenger side still needs to be sanded, etched, and then painted, and of course the taping done. And down here we have the cargo door. The front of it has been, in fact, painted previously. And here you can see what I'm talking about. Here are lines where there's actually a decal underneath the paint. For some reason they decided to leave that red stripe, or else they added one back after the fact. You flip it around, take a look at the back side. It is original, so I'll just be painting over that. Then after the body is done, the frame will be painted. Hey, why not? Let's make it look good too. And in addition, all the edging has to be stripped down and painted and put back into place. That actually goes pretty quickly. It's done with a combination of screws and rivets. And then once the entire camper is finished, I'll be doing a little search online for some decals to put on it. I've seen some really creative items out there, and I'll probably copy some of what I've seen before. As I've mentioned previously, I do this in small sections. I'm just not interested in doing great big sections at one time. Pouring some of the material into here and just using a brush. That's the stripper. And right now I set my timer for 45 minutes and it bubbles up like you see here. Takes all the paint, maybe not all the way off, but partially off anyway. And then it's just a matter of scraping. Some of this old paint, like right in here, it didn't really bubble it up well at all. Where it bubbles up good is taking off that second coat of paint. Where it doesn't bubble up well, like right up here, it kind of gets that second coat of paint off, but it leaves the first coat. You know what? That's not correct. Where it doesn't bubble up well, for some reason it's just not cutting that paint off. And in those instances, I'm either having to spend a lot of time doing this while it's soft, because it does harden if you leave it for a while, or putting a second coat of stripper on. Either way, it's a lot of work. These decals don't come off with the stripper. I'll be back at this with the heat gun a little bit later. I just lost a screw. Here you can see where I'm exposing what's left of the old decal. Also, so this is black one, this is the burgundy colored one, and this one was gray. The gray one was pretty much on the surface, and this one was as well, so this is just remnants. That was underneath the paint. I am down to the last corner of the last panel, and this is coat number 1 for removal for stripping material. Take a look at what I've uncovered here. There's a unknown to me previously decal. I guess that's burgundy on the bottom. That would have been a silver one right there. This little black swoosh runs all the way up to the front, or at least runs up to the door. I did not know that was there. I didn't see it at all on the other side. This side is just thick with paint. In addition to the original, there's at least a coat or two of something else on there. It's just going to have to be stripped one more time. All right. Kind of a Nike swoosh. I've already done a second coat up to here. So now let's do a second coat down here. See if we can get rid of whatever this thick stuff is. Okay, round 2 of the stripping compound is completed, and it got more of the heavy chalk-like substance off. Not all of it, but probably enough. When I come back and hit it with the sander, it'll be much better. What it doesn't take off is this decal, or in particular this decal. Now, for some reason, the burgundy colored decal comes off really easily. The black decal, even with a heat gun, which is what I use on the burgundy one also, it's just purely tedious. It's very difficult to get out of there. I actually went and got a hold on. I actually had a wire brush kit in my garage in the drawer, so I went and got that, and I tried this little guy right here first. No, didn't work worth a flip. Tried this guy. It worked a little better, but it did a lot of damage to the metal. Then third, I tried a sanding flap. No, nothing. This doesn't work. Nothing gets that off of there easily. I know somewhere there's some kind of chemical you can put on that does. I haven't found it. So at this point, this is the last bit I have left. It'll take me 40 minutes to get all this decal off, at least. But once it's done, it's done. This is tedious. It's just no better way to describe it, but I cannot find a quicker way to do it. I've done the entire camper like this. This is the last section left. We'll see how long it takes. Oh, and here we are, sped up by a factor of at least 6. That's how slow it is. Wow, that was a good 45 minutes of scraping and getting this done. You can still see the phantom, but I'll be hitting it with a sander and cleaning it up really well, and most of that will go away before paint. I still have to tape all this kind of stuff off. I was drilling these out, but quite frankly it's a little bit too much trouble. I just don't think it's necessary, so I'm taping it for the moment. If I don't like the way it looks later, and that's me being really, really picky, but if I don't like the way it looks later, I can always pull them off, stand around a little bit, and then paint. Paint's next. Paint. Paint has started in earnest. Now sections over in this direction, which are driver's side, left side of the camper, are completely done. This is the panel with the metal work that had to be done. So I have really been looking forward to seeing how this was going to look when it was actually painted. So I now have 2 coats of paint here, and quite obviously it's visible. How does it look? Well, it looks pretty good. Is it acceptable? Yes, it's acceptable. Is it to my typical standards? Well, the answer is no, it's not. But quite frankly, the difficulty involved in getting this pulled all the way out to where it's perfectly flat is pretty substantial. And quite frankly, I don't really want to do that and go through all that process. I'm not even sure I can, actually. So this, for the moment, is pulled in nicely. This comes in and locks in and pulls tight. It'll look really, really, really good. So overall, I'm happy with it. Let's look at the front. Both this section and this section have 2 coats, and both look really good. I will go ahead and move forward with 4 coats total on both of these and start working my way around the other side, which is pretty much 100% prepped and ready for paint. Okay, that quarter panel is painted with a single coat. I have the door completely sanded and prepped and ready for paint, but I have not sanded this last half panel over here yet. I need to do that and then use the etching material to get this all ready. And then around back, I still have to do the same thing on that back panel. One thing that's inevitable, I'm running out of paint. I'm going to wait until I actually run completely out and then make a best guess on how much more to buy. I think I can get it in quarts. This is a full gallon. I most definitely do not need another gallon. But there's very little left in this bucket. I think I'll do the outside first, and then when I've got 4 coats on it, I'll come back and do the inside, so I'll be able to swing it around and prop it against the other side. You know, I don't have any idea how to paint a hinge like that where it looks right. I guess just paint it and see what happens. You know, I'd like to be able to replace this Velcro, and it's kind of lost some of its sticking ability, so I may just end up doing that entirely. It is screwed and it has adhesive on the back. Well, the decision whether or not to remove these and replace them is just made for me. Pulling the tape off, it pulled off some of the paint. So I'm just going to back them all the way off, clean this up real good, repaint over it a couple of times, and find a replacement for that. This is the door or hatch to the storage area, and I'm starting to clean it up, and I've learned a couple of things. One is when I put heat to it to try and get these stickers off in here, this is not metal. This is not aluminum. This is some sort of composite or plastic material. And of course I gouged it up a little bit trying to get this stuff off of there. Second, there's a sticker here. Sticker has to go. Sticker comes off pretty easily actually. But the adhesive doesn't. So in a moment we're going to try our WD-40 trick we learned earlier and see if we get that adhesive off. And then third, there are stickers running under here, painted over with very obvious lines for where the decals, I guess you could call them, end on the edges, and I'm not really quite sure how I'm going to get that paint off of there. I might try sanding it. I'm just not really sure. On the bottom it's aluminum like pretty much everything else, and I can take these off pretty easily, so I'll probably go ahead and do that. Make life a little simpler for sanding this down. See if we can get that off. Alright, that was pretty easy. Last time I used a combination of heat from the heat gun and WD-40 to get adhesive off. See if I have to do that or not. I don't know, that's just magic. Steel wool. See if that helps. Look at that. Comes right off. You know, this back area here looks really good. I'm not going to paint it at all. I'm just going to leave it the way it is. It looks just fine. It has been about an hour, and it's kind of interesting. The part that bubbled up was over the exposed plastic that I had down there. No, actually that's the exposed plastic right there, isn't it? So this part bubbled up. Let's see what is underneath it. A black decal is underneath it. Okay, I think it's fair enough to say I can treat this entire unit. There's probably a decal under here as well. You know, if it wasn't for the fact that those decals are showing the edges, I really do not have to do this. I could just sand it down really smoothly and run with it. I think it's probably better to try and get a little bit of that paint off so I can get these decals off that are underneath here. Well, I got sidetracked. It's been about an hour and a half, and again we have bubbled up over the decals, but not much anywhere else, which is really fine with me because I don't need to clean everything off of here. The decals are my primary concern. Big question now is with the decals exposed, can I heat them up a little bit and take them off without damaging the door underneath? I have the heat gun set on low. I gouged out some of the plastic right there. This is the same primer I used on the rooftop AC cover. Good for plastic and metals. Unfortunately, it's almost empty. I'm not getting very far. Nope, not getting far at all. I guess that's going to be on my list for tomorrow. Okay, I got a can of white primer. Gave it one spray down, and these cuts I made are pretty deep. So I don't know that this is really a build-up primer, but it certainly should work. So taking a little steel wool, sanding off the paint surrounding it. Yeah, that's a little deeper than I thought. I don't think I'll have to, but I might need to build it up somehow. I had to go to Ace, and so I thought, you know what, I'll see if they have any wood, plastic filler for plastic, just to fill this in and then sand it down. Well, they don't. They have wood filler that's doesn't say it's allowed in plastic, but I just don't know. So anyway, I'm going to try that and see if that works or not. This has been sitting here for about almost half an hour, and it's supposed to be take about 15 minutes to dry. It seems to have filled okay. I got to get rid of this edge here. It's just going to show up as a patch. There you go. New sanding pad, massive difference. All right, this is exactly what's supposed to happen. This is actually working really well, so I will fill the last couple little spots, sand it real well, and then prime it one last time, and then paint. The plastic wood filler appears to have done a really nice job of filling in these imperfections, so I am happy with that. I'm going to hit it one more time with some primer, and then tomorrow I'll paint. Here's where I put in some of that metal material. Now I got to get it sanded back down. I was filling several holes in very small dents. So that looks better. It doesn't look perfect, and it quite frankly never will, because I just can't get these little depressions out here. So that was 2 holes, and there was a 3rd hole here that I don't know why it was there, but it was there. So yeah, looks quite a bit better. Following sanding, it's a good cleaning. And quite frankly, this is just clean water. I mean, there's really not a lot of dirt on here. There's a little bit of that pink leftover stripper, and it wouldn't be a good idea to have that underneath the underneath the paint. So I'm ensuring that's gone. Next step was a wipe down with aluminum boat etch wash, which is basically an acid wash for aluminum. I use that, pour it on a sponge, just basically put it over all of the surfaces that are yet to be painted first time. And I give it 5 minutes, and at that point we wash it down again with clean water. Then I tape, then we paint. The etch wash, by the way, preps the aluminum so it will accept paint. Actually, it removes oxidation. So oxidation is, of course, the enemy of paint sticking properly. So you want to try and get all that off, and you really do have a limited period of time before oxidation will come back. So I really kind of need to get this done, get it taped, and get a first coat of paint in place. Coat number 1 on the balance of the panels. This, by the way, is a second can of paint that I bought. I had to buy another quart, and it's really going on just as thin as the gallon can did. So I did not have like a fluke bad can of paint. Four coats in place on all surfaces. Absolutely fantastic. It looks great. This seems to me like a really good spot to stop for the moment. Next, after this, comes trim work. And trim work involves, the edging, which goes around here, all to be painted black. All of this type of stuff that goes right here, these covers, they'll be painted black. I'll be replacing these here with black material if I can find it. If not, I'll be painting it black, but I believe I've found it in black already. And once that's done, the body will pretty much be finished. I still will at some point decide what to do with all of this, if anything at all. And I also have to put decals on. Now, I don't have to put decals on. I could leave it just bare, but as I've mentioned previously, I've seen some pretty attractive decal design work done on some other ones, and I'll probably duplicate some of that. In addition, the black frame all the way around will get painted as well. Well, that's it. Another project within a project completed. As usual, questions and comments and, of course, advice are very much welcome. Please remember to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you next time on Keeping Up with Papa, Life After Work. Papa out.